The village was alive with anticipation. The news spread like wildfire. A foreign civil engineer from China had arrived to build a dam that would bring electricity to their homes. It wasn't just a project. It was a new hope, the promise of light, prosperity, and progress. Among those who watched in awe was a young woman named Ada. She couldn't have known then that her life was about to be forever changed. Her eyes met his across the village square. The foreigner, tall, confident, with an air of mystery, smiled at her. His name was Chang, and he seemed like the answer to every prayer whispered by the village. He spoke of dreams bigger than anyone had imagined. But dreams can be deceiving. At first, his presence was a ray of light in Ada's simple, quiet world. Chang's eyes held a certain intensity, his words full of promise. He spoke of love, of a future beyond the village, of a life together in China. But Ada, who had lived her whole life in the shadows of her small community, never imagined such dreams were within reach. His compliments were endless, his affection all-consuming. He was everything she had ever wanted in a man: smart, successful, and passionate about the future. With everything she had ever wanted in a man, the truth, however, would take longer to reveal itself than she could have ever imagined. Their connection deepened with each passing day. Ching's sweet words were like a siren song, drawing Ada further into a web she didn't even know existed. He told her of his lonely life in China, far away from family, and how he needed someone to share his future with. Ada, drawn to his loneliness as much as his promises, believed in him. She believed in the dream of a life together. He promised her the world, a future in China after the dam project was completed. The thought of it made Ada dizzy with excitement. But there were whispers in the village, faint murmurs about his past, his true intentions, but Ada was too blinded by love to see them. The more Ada fell in love, the more she trusted Chang. And soon, that trust led to something unthinkable, a pregnancy unexpected and overwhelming. She had never imagined that something as simple as love could lead to such a life-changing consequence. But this wasn't just any pregnancy. This pregnancy would reveal a hidden truth about Chang. What she didn't know was that he wasn't just playing with her heart, he was playing with her life. He had infected her with the HIV virus, and with her pregnancy, he had also planted the seed of a future that would be filled with pain and betrayal. Ada's world crumbled when the doctor confirmed it. She had HIV. The man she had trusted, the man she had loved, had betrayed her in the most devastating way. She tried to make sense of it, but nothing made sense. Why had he done this to her? Why had he promised her everything only to steal her health, her future, and her peace? Her mind raced with anger and confusion. He had vanished, leaving her alone with the harsh truth. And there was no China, there was no future, there was only her and the virus he had passed on to her, and the life inside her womb she wasn't sure could survive. As the pain settled in, a dark thought took root in Ada's mind. If Cheng could destroy her, why not spread his legacy? Why not make every man who crossed her path suffer as she had? She vowed to infect every man who came near her. It was her way of seeking revenge, of making the world feel the betrayal she had felt. She no longer cared about love or trust. She wanted revenge, and she wanted it in the most painful way possible. But even in the depths of her anger, something still whispered within her, something that told her this path would not lead to healing. It would only lead to more destruction. Fate had other plans. After weeks of self-destruction, Ada met an old herbalist in the village. She didn't trust easily anymore, but something about him caught her attention. He was calm, wise, and there was a softness to him that made her feel heard. Ada, in her pain and desperation, shared everything with him: her fears, her anger, her betrayal, and the virus she carried. The herbalist listened without judgment, and then, in the quietest of tones, he offered her something she hadn't considered before: a chance at healing, not just for her body, but for her soul. The herbalist didn't promise miracles, he didn't promise a cure, but he did offer Ada something invaluable: guidance. He gave her herbs, medicine to manage the virus, and more importantly, he taught her how to forgive herself. Ada didn't know it then, but this meeting would mark the beginning of her journey toward true healing. With the herbalist's help, she began to learn how to manage her condition, how to keep it under control, and how to carry her baby safely. Every day was a struggle, but each day she grew stronger, both physically and emotionally. The most significant worry on Ada's mind was the health of her unborn child. She had been infected, but what about her baby? Could the virus be passed on? With the herbalist counsel, Ada began a strict regimen of herbs and care, doing everything she could to keep her baby healthy. After months of anticipation, the day came to test her baby. She held her breath, praying for a miracle. When the results came back, she could hardly believe it. Her baby was healthy. There was no trace of the virus. It felt like a second chance, a gift she didn't deserve but was grateful for nonetheless. Months passed, and with the herbalist's continued support, Ada's health improved. Not only was her baby healthy, but Ada herself began to feel stronger. Her HIV condition, once a death sentence in her mind, was now manageable. The healing wasn't instant, but every day brought her closer to the peace she had been searching for. She couldn't explain it. It felt like a miracle. She had been given a second chance, not just for herself, but for her child. She couldn't keep this miracle to herself. She had to share her story. And in doing so, Ada's journey was just beginning. Ada stood before the congregation, trembling but resolute. She had never shared her story with anyone before, but the time had come. The church was quiet, the air thick with anticipation. As she began to speak, her voice cracked, but the words flowed out of her heart. She shared everything, how she had been deceived, how she had been infected, and how her life had been changed by the love she thought she'd found. But she didn't just tell them about the pain. She told them about the healing, the miracle of a healthy baby and her own recovery. Her voice grew stronger with each word as she spoke of the hope that had been kindled in her heart. The congregation sat in stunned silence as Ada poured out her soul. When she finished, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. Ada realized that this wasn't just her story. It was a story that could inspire others, a story that could bring hope to those who felt lost. As Ada left the church that day, her heart was full of peace. She had shared her pain, her healing, and her truth. But there was more to her story that needed to be told. She couldn't just move on and forget the others who were suffering like she had. They needed to know that there was hope, that there was a way out of the darkness. Ada decided to start a charity. The mission was clear: to help people living with HIV, to provide them with the resources they needed to manage their condition and to offer emotional support. She knew how it felt to be alone in the fight. Now she wanted to be the light for others. Starting a charity was no easy task, but Ada was determined. With the herbalist's guidance and the support of her family, she began reaching out to people in her village and nearby towns. The response was overwhelming. People came forward, ready to help. Donations poured in. The community rallied behind her cause. Ada's charity grew quickly, offering counseling, medical assistance, and most importantly, a sense of community to those affected by HIV. Ada became a beacon of hope, showing others that living with the virus wasn't the end. It was just a new beginning. Despite the growing success of her charity, Ada's journey was far from easy. There were days when she felt overwhelmed, days when the weight of her past threatened to pull her back down. The memories of Cheng, the man who had betrayed her, still haunted her, and sometimes she struggled with the guilt of how she had once tried to spread the virus in revenge. But Ada was learning that healing wasn't just about the physical. It was about forgiving herself, about letting go of the anger that had consumed her. The herbalist's wisdom echoed in her mind. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means releasing yourself from the chains of the past. Ada's charity grew, and so did her support system. She wasn't alone anymore. The people she helped gave her the strength to keep going. They shared their own stories of pain and survival, and in doing so, Ada found her strength. Every person who walked into her charity with hope in their eyes fueled her determination. One particular woman, Grace, came to Ada's charity after losing both of her parents to HIV. Grace was broken, but Ada saw something in her, a fire that mirrored her own. Ada took Grace under her wing, and together they became a force for good in the community. One evening, as Ada sat in her office, a message came through. It was from the hospital. Her latest blood test results were in. Her heart raced as she opened the envelope. The words on the paper were a blur. She read it again and then again. It was negative. The virus had been eradicated from her system. Tears welled up in Ada's eyes as she sank into the chair. It felt unreal. After everything she had been through, after all the pain and suffering, she was finally free. It was a miracle, a true testament to the power of healing. Ada couldn't wait to share the news with her community, with the people who had supported her all along. She had finally defeated the virus. With the news of her own recovery, Ada's charity gained even more support. People from all over came to her for help, looking for answers, for hope. Ada became a symbol of survival, proof that living with HIV didn't have to be the end of the world. It was just a new chapter, one that could be full of life, love, and possibility. Ada started speaking at events, sharing her story with larger audiences. She spoke of her journey from betrayal to healing, from darkness to light. Her words were powerful, her voice unwavering. People listened, and they were moved. Despite all the success, Ada's path to forgiveness was still ongoing. The memories of Chang, of the way he had used her, still haunted her. But now, with the support of her charity and her family, Ada understood that forgiveness wasn't about him, it was about her. It was about freeing herself from the anger that had once held her captive. Ada had come to understand that the past didn't define her. She had the power to shape her own future, to create a life full of purpose and meaning. And that was exactly what she was doing. As Ada's charity grew, so did the ripple effect of her actions. More and more people came forward, not just for help, but to offer help. The community had rallied around her cause, and now they were ready to spread the message of hope. Ada had sparked something in the hearts of others, a desire to make a difference. She saw her dream come true, a community united not by the virus, but by the strength and courage to face it head on. Ada's charity was more than just a place for medical support, it was a movement. Years passed, and Ada's legacy continued to grow. The charity she had started became a cornerstone of the community. She had built something that would last, something that would help countless people for generations to come. Ada's story had become a beacon of hope, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, light could shine through. Ada never forgot the pain of her past, but she had turned it into something beautiful. She had turned it into love, into healing, and into a future where no one had to face HIV alone. Ada's life had transformed completely. Once a woman filled with anger and despair, she was now a pillar of hope and strength in her community. Her charity was no longer just about managing HIV. It had become a symbol of resilience and empowerment. But even as her charity flourished, Ada knew that her journey wasn't just about her. She still had personal battles to fight, especially when the shadows of her past came creeping back. One afternoon, while checking emails at the charity's office, Ada received a message that froze her heart. It was from Chang. The man who had destroyed her life had resurfaced, wanting to apologize. Ada's hands shook as she read the message. She had worked so hard to move on from him, but now the ghosts of her past were threatening to haunt her again. The anger she thought she had buried rose to the surface. Could she forgive him? Should she even allow him back into her life? Ada spent sleepless nights thinking about Chang's message. The temptation to confront him, to demand answers, was strong. But Ada had come a long way from the broken woman she used to be. She had found healing not in revenge, but in letting go. After days of deliberation, Ada decided that the past had no place in her future. She sent a short, polite reply, stating that she had moved on. Cheng's apology was not enough to erase the pain he had caused, and Ada realized that true healing came from within. As Ada's charity grew, so did the challenges. Funding became an issue, and Ada found herself juggling her responsibilities between her family, her health, and her charity. The pressure was immense, and there were days when she felt overwhelmed, but Ada knew that she couldn't afford to give up. The people she had helped needed her more than ever, and she wasn't about to let them down. She rallied the community together, holding fundraisers and forging new partnerships with organizations that shared her mission. Slowly but surely, Ada's charity began to stabilize, allowing her to focus more on its long-term goals. Ada's work in her village had never been about staying small. She had always dreamed of something bigger. After much thought, she made the bold decision to expand the reach of her charity beyond her village. She wanted to share her message of hope with the world, to show that anyone, no matter where they came from, could make a difference. With the support of her community and her family, Ada launched a global campaign to raise awareness about HIV, focusing not just on prevention, but on the importance of compassion and support for those living with the virus. The response was overwhelming. Her story had traveled far and wide, inspiring others to take action in their own communities. In the midst of her charity's expansion, Ada found herself faced with a new chapter in her personal life. Her relationship with Grace, the young woman she had mentored, had blossomed into a deep friendship. They were now more like sisters, bound by a shared purpose and mutual support. As Grace grew stronger in her own journey of healing, she decided to join Ada in running the charity full-time. Together, they formed a partnership that would take the organization to new heights. Ada also found solace in the love of her family. Her child, now growing strong and healthy, was the constant reminder of how far she had come. Despite the love and support that surrounded her, Ada still had moments of doubt. She was human, after all. One night, as she lay awake thinking about her journey, she realized something. She had spent so much time helping others that she had neglected herself. The strain of constantly caring for others had begun to take its toll. Ada knew she had to face the truth. Self-care was not a luxury, it was a necessity. She began to carve out time for herself, to heal in ways that had been neglected. For the first time in years, Ada took a step back to simply breathe, knowing that she couldn't pour from an empty cup. Ada's decision to step back came at a difficult time. The charity faced a financial crisis when one of their largest donors pulled out unexpectedly. The pressure mounted, and Ada found herself at a crossroads. Would her dream crumble? Would all her hard work be for nothing? But Ada's strength, built from years of surviving the impossible, was unwavering. She led a charge to revamp the charity's funding strategy, reaching out to new potential partners and securing grants from government organizations. Her relentless spirit turned the situation around. It wasn't easy, but Ada proved that no challenge was too great to overcome. The day finally came when Ada could take a breath and truly celebrate her achievements. Her charity had grown beyond her wildest dreams. It had become a beacon of hope for countless people, and its impact was spreading across borders. Ada threw a celebration, an event to honor all those who had helped her along the way and to reflect on the incredible journey she had taken. As she stood before her community, Ada was overwhelmed with gratitude. She looked out at the faces of those who had supported her, who had walked alongside her, and who had now become part of something much larger than herself. It was a moment of triumph, not just for her, but for everyone whose lives had been touched by her work. Years had passed since Ada's life had been turned upside down. Now she looked back on her journey with pride. She had turned her pain into purpose. She had created something that would last beyond her, a legacy of love, compassion, and hope for generations to come. Her charity continued to thrive, and Ada's message had reached people across the globe. She had become a symbol of resilience, a living testament to the power of healing, forgiveness, and transformation. Ada's story was no longer just her own. It was the story of anyone who had ever struggled, ever fallen, and ever risen again. Her life had been a battle, but in the end, Ada knew one thing for sure. She had won.
If you enjoyed this video, like, share, and subscribe to see more good videos like this. Leave a comment in the comment section. Tell us what you love to see next.